It was built in 1686 as a wedding gift for Jethro Coffin. He was 23, and his young bride, Mary Gardner, she was 16. And they were both descendants of two prominent Nantucket families. The Coffins, Tristram Coffin was one of the original proprietors. And Mary's dad, John Gardner, he was in the second group to arrive, the so-called half-share people. And he was one of the tradesmen recruited to really make Nantucket a going community. And the two families were very focused on getting the two kids a great wedding present. So the Coffins provided the lumber for the house, and John Gardner gave them 1.5 acres of land. Now imagine you're standing in front of the house on that wedding day in 1686. This is roughly what it looked like. And you would have been dazzled because it was really a mansion for its day. And here we see two dormers that were intended to bring light into the two upstairs bedrooms. And those were taken down early in the house's history because they had the effect of kind of funneling rainwater right over the front doors. Now, what about that chimney? Well, there's a horseshoe on the chimney, and there are several stories. It represents good luck, or it represents bad luck because it's upside down. It represents the union of the two families. Or, and this is my favorite, that it was intended to pour the good luck down on the young couple. And tradition has it that the couple was married right in front of the fireplace in the west parlor. The next family to move in was the Paddock family, and they stayed there with their many, many, many children for 132 years. And just 4 days after the second Nathaniel Paddock dies, his son sells the house for $300. Now, by then, the house is about 150 years old, and it is not doing that well. It was sold to George Turner. So here's George right here with his wife, Mary, and 3 of their many children. George used to give tours of the house. He was so famous for giving tours, it was in fact mentioned in his obituaries. And then his wife, it's 1875, and she says, wait a minute, that was a great idea. She actually converts the east parlor into a museum. And that's what we see here, the stuffed dummy and the spinning wheel and the whole thing. August of 1881. The Coffin family was planning its big reunion. The featured speaker was Tristram Coffin. Tristram Coffin and his brother headed out to the oldest house site, and they were just appalled to see the condition it was in. And it was pretty much a disaster. They tracked down Mrs. Turner, paid her $300. They immediately went about to preserve the house. They patched the chimney, they put on a new roof, they reshingled it because a lot of the shingles had been pulled off by tourists. So in 1887, he hired a custodian, Ellen Bartlett, who was ran a boarding school in his hometown of Poughkeepsie, and he ran this ad in the paper. It's now officially, quote, the oldest house. A very dignified ad saying the house is open for public inspection. So if you were visiting the oldest house in 1899 or any other summer after that for the next 24 years, you would have been met by Mrs. Jenks. She was born on Nantucket, came back every summer for the next 24 years. And during her first summer, she was a little starstruck when Mrs. Grover Cleveland came to visit. So if it's 1914, Mrs. Alice Shibley and her daughter Marion are visiting the oldest house. They would have been met by Mrs. Jenks, who would have given them a very informative tour. And she stayed there as custodian for the next 25 summers, retiring in 1923. She was 75, Tristram Coffin was 85, and it seemed like a really good time to sell the oldest house, and so they did. They sold it in 1923 to the NHA for $3,500.
4 years later, the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities began an extensive reconstruction to return the house to its historic appearance. The oldest house was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1968. Today, the house stands as a monument to the lives of the island's earliest English settlers and offers visitors a glimpse of daily life on Nantucket in the 17th century. This summer, come visit the oldest house, explore the historic interior, and enjoy its period kitchen garden. Visit NHA.org for hours and special programming.